Said I can't be lit 24/7, yeah. Can't take no before still in heaven, eh? It's gonna take more than flirting to that's why I don't hit you up that much. You gon' have to show me what's love before you just get let in. So I can't be lit 24/7, no. With a pick this big, nigga can't just get up and go. I know you want another hot girl.
Yo, I may cuss, but I don't curse. Let's get that situated first. Bars because I'm nice and all that, but we already know. So this is going to be the continuation of the Chakra series. This is going to be dealing with the solar plexus. This is going to be dealing with the solar plexus, y'all. Solar plexus being responsible for the involuntary nervous system. So, it sends messages back and forth. It sends signals to the brain, sends and receives messages from the brain. It's located right above the navel, the belly button. All right. And for me, this may be for others as well, this represents the sun. All right. Hence the term solar plexus. Leo, the sign ruled by the sun, also rules over the area around the chest area, the back area, which would be right above the navel, right? So we're dealing with the solar plexus today. So when dealing with the solar plexus, we're talking about the ego. The sun represents the ego, the identity, the self, right? So the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to this is courage. So if we're going to expand on coming off the Mars chakra, right? The sacral chakra, we get to this solar plexus and it's like, okay, well, what's the difference? Because obviously with Mars or the sacral chakra, you got to have some type of courage, right? Granted. But this solar plexus courage is a different type of courage. This courage is a courage that revolves around purpose. This courage, and in all actuality too, it's in preparation for the heart chakra, for the Venus chakra, which will be discussed next. And it's because you have to actually take a look at yourself with this chakra and say, well, hey, I want to get out into the world and learn about myself. Because this is a place where, okay, in reference to, or in contrast, should I say, to the sacral chakra, where the Mars mentality is more of a soldier, like it's more of a selfish type, right? Hence, you can deal with the woman, but not really deal with her. You know what I'm saying? You might knock her down, but not physically, y'all. Oh, slang, all right? You might knock her down, take her down, but don't call back. You know what I mean? One night stand it or stuff like that. You know what I mean? Or you may not want to cooperate with other people and you might just want to do something that is for yourself or go for self. You might want to be a lone gunman, lone robber. I'm not giving y'all any ideas. I'm just saying, right? Representations and examples. Aries people don't get mad at me either because I have discussed Emperor status on my channel plenty of times. So I do have a theory on how the Mars archetype, the Aries archetype develops into mastery when it reaches Emperor level. But that's for another time. But should you take on the want to be embodied in your sacral chakra, it's more about the self. It's more about being selfish. It's more about saying, well, hey, who all gonna be over there? You know what I mean? Because if X, Y, and Z is over there, I'm not going over there because we don't get along or I don't like them. And it's gonna be something if I see them, or you know what I mean? It's gonna, that type of action, that type of activity. Or again, I would like to use it more in a societal sense to where something has to be done. We could look at the military with the sacral chakra and say, okay, I'm a soldier, I'm a private. I might reach corporal, but in order for me to reach corporal, I got to do some amazing shit so people can give me a medal, a badge of honor to see that I am equipped. Me, this individual unit of the military is equipped to take on tasks that are, required of me. So it's more of a singular position Whereas in contrast to the solar plexus, this is more about, well, how can I learn about myself? Because we're dealing with creativity. The sun, Leo, represents creation. And not just in the sense of, oh, you're just another human body, you're just another vessel. No, we're looking at your celestial DNA. We want to see your natal chart. We want to see what your sun sign is, right? Sun sign. We want to know what your characteristics are, what your persona is like. How do you carry yourself? What are your mannerisms? What color is your hair? You understand what I'm saying? How tall are you? All of these things. Where are you from? Who is your parents, your grandparents? What is your lineage, right? And if the average person is born into the world and does not know that, and not even does not care to know that, right? Again, I think the military is a good example to use, because sometimes soldiers just come from torn backgrounds to where it's like they don't really got nothing going on in the hometown anyway, so they're just like, yo, I'm going to be a soldier, right? Or their predecessors were soldiers, so they take on the role of being soldier too. But they don't really have if they don't have no background in history, it's like, and they have a broken home, or they just don't have nothing going on in the town, it's a small town, then how do they truly know themselves? You get what I'm saying? They don't have that perception or that point of view yet. So raising the frequency to the solar plexus enables one to say, yo, look, I want to get out there and get to know who I am. Now, some of y'all might be watching this video right now and be egotistical, right? And be like, well, I know who I am and all that. You know what I mean? And for those of you who have reached that level, fantastic. You're not done though. So news flash for that, quiet your ego when it comes to that. You're not done yet. You're still learning yourself. But creation, when you're created as an individual unit, sun, ego represents individuality as well. You're still a representation of the whole. It's like Gestalt theory. All right? You're still a part of the whole. You're still a part of the whole. That's why the opposite, Aquarius, Aqua, right? It wants to, or it does rather, measure humanity. It measures humanity because Aquarius is the aggregate, right? Gregarious. Everybody grouped up, whether you're sectored off over here, you got a group over here, you got a group over there, you're sectored off for whatever reasons, of what is probably based upon preferences, right? Soul, solar plexus, ego is also revolving around preference, right? Because if we could look at it like the opposite, Aquarius is everything under the firmament as humanity. However, because we have these individual preferences about ourselves, we get categorized in these areas or in these groups. We still form groups, but they can be separate from each other, right? So of course that's allowed, but it's still a part of the whole. And Aquarius is always measuring all of those things just by way of, and I know you might be thinking Virgo, maybe statistics, and maybe Scorpio doing research and all of that. Those are important components that are assigned to the signs the way that they're supposed to be in the houses. However, Aquarius is about the humanitarian effort of humanity. It's about humanity. It represents humanity. All right. So it does by way of astrology, right? So looking at astrology, you can see, because astrology is ruled by Aquarius. In case you didn't know, now you know. Astrology is ruled by Aquarius. So I would say to think about it like this, right? If there were no humans on planet Earth, then there would be no activity or events for there to be measured by astrology. Time would still exist by way of planetary transits. However, it would exist without the components, which is us, the humans, the vehicles of humanity, right? So yeah, Mars and Aquarius, Venus and Pisces, all of these things would mean the same thing. However, we would not be able to give meaning to it should we not exist. We have to come into form by way of creation in order to learn it, right? So this is what learning thyself is about, knowing thyself, because the soul wants to know. I don't care how egotistical you are. You want to know about yourself. That's why Leo gets the term or the label of being egotistical or show off, because that's how they obtain their information. That's how it obtains its information. Leo, the ego, the soul. How am I perceived by these other people when I'm around them? How are they looking at me? Are they looking at me? Why are y'all not looking at me? I will cartwheel out this motherfucker. You heard? Right in the middle of the yellow lines. Like, I want to know, and it's because whether they're conscious of it or not, they want to know thyself. Creation wants to know itself. You might have heard this term used in other types of discussions by philosophers and psychologists and physicists as well, right? Creation wants to know itself. It's like God wanting to know itself. The only way to do that is by way of matter, by coming into existence. Pause. That's crazy work. But you get what I'm saying, right? Now, it takes courage to do this on a level that involves other people. Like I said, when it comes to the Mars sacral chakra, it's about self. You want to bust a nut, it's about self. You don't care how shorty feel, or if she's just still laying in, didn't get hers. That's not the concern. Like Mars, we get ours and we go, right? Solar plexus is more about, I want to know how shorty feels about me. It don't got to be in the bed, y'all, but I just want to know how she feels about me. And she don't got to tell me what her feelings are necessarily. I can just look at her. You understand what I'm saying? I can interact with her and perceive how she perceives me. So I can pick up on the signals, right? We spoke earlier about how solar plexus is responsible for sending and receiving signals from the brain, right? So it's the same thing when you come into interaction with another creation, right? You learn yourself. You know thyself via the eyes of someone else, via the responses of someone else. You can tell when someone likes you and when someone doesn't like you, right? This is a form of learning. That's why even in astrology, the fifth house is associated with learning. There's third house learning, there's fifth house learning, and there's ninth house learning, all right? So the fifth house learning is more about being eventful at social events, to, like I said, identify oneself through the eyes of another. And still you get to know that, pardon the children in the background, y'all, but you get to know. So it's like you get to know yourself via conversation or conversing, with another, right? But this takes courage. Just think about, and again, the same way that I use references or contrasting to put emphasis on the sacral chakra in contrast to the moon chakra, the Mars chakra in contrast to the moon chakra, you obviously see me making those same contrasts with the solar plexus and the sacral chakra. Because it's like, if you think about, if you do like someone, right, for example, and you want to date them, the sacral chakra is more about really just doing you, and perhaps getting addressed or getting aggressed based upon doing you. Like, you don't really care. You could have your head down, or you could have your blinders on, like Aries energy suggests, right? You're just going straight forward. You're not thinking about X, Y, and Z. But as you go along, and they meet up with you at that point, they're like, okay, yeah, I could see us doing something real quick, or whatever the case may be. But that's not your focus, right? Leo, the sun, represents focus as well, concentration. So it takes a certain courage to say, oh, I like that girl. I'm going to say something to her. You understand what I'm saying? Fifth house rules over dating. Sign Leo rules over dating. Gambling, right? Speculative matters revolving around chance, especially when it comes to finances. But maybe we'll talk about that at another time. But I need to put emphasis on the courage that it takes to actually say, I like her. I'm going to say something to her. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm going to say something to her. Might try to sweep her off her feet too. So when you notice how people like turn their light on when they have the intention and the focus and the concentration on making a first impression, right? So you want to leave a lasting impression. So therefore, You might spray your cologne on that day that you know you're going to see her. You know what I'm saying? You might actually take a shower. I'm fucking with you. You know what I mean? But type shit. You know, and you might just pour it on. You might turn it on. And then you hear how some people be like, yo, the honeymoon phase be over. And then, you know, they not doing the same thing that they was doing in the beginning. Yeah, no shit. Because they was ego-based when they garnered up the courage to do that. You understand what I'm saying? And again, it's a gamble. It's a game of chance. So I guess like with most gamblers, or some I would say, once you win, it's just like, oh, maybe I can win again. Maybe that's where infidelity comes from, right? Or maybe that's where putting a spark in a relationship again comes from as well. Oh, wow, swept off a feet before, I can do it again, you know? And some people, they stay together based upon that. Like, yeah, I remember what I did to get her. I'm going to just do it again. It's going to shock her, but, you know, it worked before, it'll work again, god damn it, type shit. You understand what I'm saying? I'm just using these scenarios to put emphasis and clarify what I mean about the importance of courage when it comes to the solar plexus. And this derives from identifying self-worth. So this can come on a humble, right? You may be somewhere out during an event. Someone says you look good. Someone says you smell good. You might be in a event where where you have to be social. You might be at work. You might be in the workplace, and you know, a manager might come to you and say, hey, you know what? I've been watching you. I've been monitoring you. Not only do I like your work, you get it done on time, but also you got a way with people that I really find valuable, and I find you more of an asset. I would like to move you up to supervisor, something like that. You know what I mean? So once you start getting these types of interactions, and what happens is you're getting to know yourself. You might have not knew these things about yourself, and it's because you didn't have the environment or the setting to be placed into, right? You might have just been a homebody, and maybe this is your first job. So you don't even know that you possess these types of skills until you enter there. You know, at home it's a given, and really your people might just snap on you all day. You know what I mean? Depending on who your family is, y'all might just have jokes all day and like play fight, and then really fight, and then play fight again, and then make up. And you don't really have the social dynamic of being valuable to something outside of the home unit, or just being valuable in society, right? Like I said, at home it's a given. So when you learn these valuable things about yourself, you start saying, oh, okay, I'm more than a soldier. I'm worth more than a soldier. No disrespect to the vets out there or the people who still in the military watching this. I got a special place in my heart for y'all because of the courage that it takes to do what y'all do as well. It's just when you come to the realization, I guess for those of you who are watching, I could take that and use it as a teaching point. It's like, how many of you are appalled with, whether you're on duty or not, or you're finished, appalled with the way that society is ran, or the way that the communities are being ran, or the way that humanity is not based upon, but even after your service, right? So I think that's important. It's important to use that point as to say some people who did not give their service in the military feel the same way. They feel like, well, how dare the average person not have the courage to do something or want something more with themselves? You understand what I'm saying? When there are so many things to do, there are so many valuable things that are within oneself that can be brought out of oneself via creation, the same way that the self was created. So this is where the ego gets emphasized. This is where pride comes in. And I mean healthy ego. I mean healthy pride. There's nothing wrong with pride. There's nothing wrong with ego. It's the excess of it. All right? It's the excess of it which makes it detrimental, not only to the self, but also those around it. So this courage in realizing that you're worth more than what you initially thought anyway, right? Initial, as an Aries term, a sacral chakra term. Once you realize that you're worth more than what you initially thought, this is when you approach the dating scene with more confidence, right? Leo, sun, represents confidence. Solar plexus is about confidence, to where you start saying, Well, I got terms and conditions, baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is where your likes and your preferences get emphasized. And for those who are, look, you can have an unhealthy ego by not stating what your likes and dislikes are. That can be a form of an unhealthy ego, because the same way that we can turn on the greatest traits about ourselves in the beginning of dating relationships, the same way that we can shut them off. So let's say you're being passive about something that you dislike during the date, and it happens once, it happens twice, it happens 3 times, and now that person, it might be their only red flag when it comes to socializing. But that person now is comfortable with behaving in that way, and then maybe somewhere down the line, a year or two, y'all get together, and then you snap on them out of nowhere, bang. And then they like, yo, what's up? Yo, I don't like how you said that. I don't like how you talk about me. I don't like, yo, I could have fooled me because I've been doing that for the longest of times. You understand what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure all of us have been through that in some type of way, because either we didn't want to hurt someone's feelings, or we didn't want the conversation to end. We didn't want, you know what I mean? We didn't want the relationship to end based upon one silly thing or one thing that you disliked. People can be like that sometimes, you know? Eggshells type shit. But, you know, when it comes to dating, the reason why these likes and these dislikes are emphasized is first via confidence, and you're developing the courage to exchange value because you're preparing for the Venus love chakra. You understand what I'm saying? Because once dating becomes routine, which you're inadvertently telling yourself, whether you're consciously knowing it or not, or willing to admit it or not, what you're telling yourself is you like that person to the degree that, you know, it could be a relationship. That's why some people be like, yo, what are we in it? And some people be like, well, why do we even have to ask that? Why do we need a label or anything? Like, obviously we're something, right? Look how much we do this, you know? But different strokes for different folks. I'm not saying what's right or what's wrong. I'm just saying when it develops into a routine, that means that you have embodied the courage to exchange value with that other person, right? But I would say let's keep it more streamlined to this. You have developed the courage to exchange value. And the reason why I'm saying let's keep it streamlined to this, because it doesn't always have to revolve around dating. I don't want people to watch this video and say that, okay, this is the dating video. This is the go-to for addressing women or men in dating. It's more to it than that. Because I want to look at this example, right? Exchanging value is a Venus construct, right? That's the love planet. That's the next chakra we're going to be discussing. You can also do that by way of work, right? Corporations know that. That's why they incentivize us to do what they wish us to do, right? Because they know how one feels. They know not only how one feels, but how one's ego is stroked, and how one learns thyself by way of exchanging of value, because it's a direct representation of, hey, I need this done. I believe you are qualified to do it. Therefore, I'm going to exchange value. We're going to exchange value based upon this agreement so that I can get this thing done. Corporations, companies, they know that once you obtain your value, which is really truly a representation of yourself, right? Because you earned it, they know, society knows that you're going to want to exchange value too. Now, it could be some self-love attributed to your expenditure, or you can be hiring someone else the same way they hired you, or you can go find a little boo thing and go on a little date. You know, however the cookie crumbles, it's going to crumble, right? You're going to do something. You're going to want to exchange value again. So another contrast between the sacral chakra and the solar plexus is that sacral is selfish. Solar plexus can't afford to be selfish, because in order to learn thyself, you must interact with others. Therefore, generosity, which is another attribute associated with the sun in Leo, is there. You have to open up. You have to be willing to say, hey, take a risk. You need to hold something here, hold that. Oh, don't worry about it. I got the bill. You know what I'm saying? That type of shit. Not because you want something back. It's because you identify with your own value. You already know how to exchange value with other people. So you're not looking at it as from a scarce mentality when it comes to the solar plexus. You're like, yo, the same way that I willed this, we're going to get into willpower in a minute. The same way that I willed this wealth into existence by way of character, by way of interaction, by way of finesse. And I don't mean finesse in the hood term, like getting over on people. I mean utilizing your characteristics, whatever charm you have, whatever it is. You're funny, you got a sense of humor, whatever it is that you do to woo these people and sweep them off of their feet, you utilize that through willpower instead of saying contracted like sacral chakra would be and say, well, look, I'm a soldier for hire. You know what I mean? That's it. Like, you know, I do my job and I'm out of here. You know what I mean? Solar plexus is more about, look, I'm willing to exchange value. I'm willing to learn myself by way of interaction. So I must be generous. I have to give of myself in order to learn thyself, right? So you could also think about it as, but I said, like, think about it in the workplace, right? You see, because like compare salary to independent contracting work, right? It's like, yeah, corporations, they know the same thing that I told you earlier, right? Yet, and remember what I said about routine. When you're dating routinely, eventually it becomes a relationship. That bond becomes, you know, because you like the exchange of value. Workplace may not be that way, right? I know a lot of people that wake up and be like, oh shit, back to the plantation, you know? Oh, it's fucking Monday. They cursing out Monday every Monday, right? So they're not happy in their relationship, you know? Some people are not happy in their relationships either, but that's another story for another time. But it's the same flex. It's the same thing that I'm saying right here, right? So that type of experience is something that should be taken into consideration, and this deals with dating, relationships, and the workplace, because the ideal is to obtain a type of exchange of value that is so uplifting and fulfilling that you don't have to have those feelings of dread or resistance like the workplace and certain relationships. You understand what I'm saying? Because the solar plexus is about joyful brightness, positivity, very important with this solar plexus as well. Optimism. You have to see the not just the bigger side, because it's going to be bright with the light regardless. You have to see productive, fulfilling, and joyful outcomes even when they're not there. You have to believe. It takes a sense of belief too. And that's where I add this in as well. Purpose. Willpower is associated with the solar plexus, and it's about taking action through willpower via purpose. Okay? So like, again, sacral chakra, Mars, is more about the mission. You're hiring me to do what? I'm a sniper on a roof. Okay, job well done. I'm done, right? Solar plexus is more about, okay, I'm learning myself through these frequent interactions, right? Now that I know these things about myself, I know that I can help more people, or I can do more, I can accomplish more things on this planet by willing my way with these characteristics, these traits, this charm that I have about myself, these leadership qualities. Solar plexus, Leo, Sun, leadership qualities. So I'm going to take action via willpower. See, so this applies to the saying that states, focus only on the things that you can take care of, not on the things that are out of your control, right? I know I butchered that shit, but you know the saying that I'm talking about, right? And I think people should pay more closer attention to that saying, because it means that some things are in your control. I don't mean to speak to y'all like y'all are dummies or nothing. Did it come off sounding like that? But I'm saying, like, I think sometimes people may overlook that, or they may not challenge themselves enough to say, they might be like, oh, well, that's out of my control. That's out of my control. Well, is it really? Have you really probed yourself to say how much that's out of your control? Because you'd be surprised or amazed at how willpower to really go the extra mile to find out whether you can do something will go. And if you keep digging and keep looking and keep asking and keep knocking, finally something opens and you're like, there it is. I told you I'm going to get it done by the 28th. Bang. And I did it. That was you, B. Like, that was you. You know, of course, the universe met you back as you met it. But without you willing it in, wouldn't have happened. If you would have just laid there all day, wouldn't have happened. Right or wrong. Not in that fashion anyway. You know, so, and of course you can learn certain things about yourself by laying down and just having things come to you, that, of course. But when I'm speaking about willpower, by way of action and interaction in order to learn itself, this is what I mean. Because Aquarius, the opposition, wants to measure humanity, and the only way to do that is by action or inaction. So we can look at it like this, right? The whole willpower, whether you lay on the bed and, you know, because I know some magical, masterful people who can just sit back and things come to them. I've done it a time or 3. So I'm not downing that, right? What I'm saying is, let me make an example or an analogy so you can understand the difference on how the opposition, Aquarius, measures the whole of humanity. Each individual unit is a microcosm of that. But let's say you laid down for a significant amount of time to the point where starvation occurred, to where you perished and you are no longer in the waking state, in the 3D with the rest of humanity. You can see how Aquarius still measured you by way of humanity, right? It's just you're expired on this plane now. And that's because you did not utilize willpower, or what most of us call free will, or like to call free will, right? So I don't want to get too deep into that topic. We don't really have free will. Another time, y'all, another time. But you get what I'm saying, right? It's a clear-cut example of how you can differentiate willpower between just falling back. And there's a term that's used for this as well. This method of, you know, inaction actually being the way to manifest. But willpower is important when it comes to the solar plexus, because you are putting yourself out there, all right? You are putting yourself out there in order to, again, like I said, know thyself. In order for, and you could call it God, or in order for the universe, your higher power, let's say in order for your future self, your fifth dimensional self, to know itself in this very point in time, it's going to take some willpower, it's going to take some action, it's going to take some courage. All right? And that drive is going to, in a lot of cases, make you a leader, because not only is Aquarius the aggregate, astrology, measuring you, you can best believe that whoever gets to see your light as well is measuring you as well. Whether that's by way of judgment, liking, disliking, because they all got egos too, right? They all got perceptions too. And a lot of them differ. A lot of them are the same, so on and so forth. But you become a leader in some type of way. Even if you're just so egotistical that you don't get to lead others because you're blinded by your own light, nonetheless, you're still a light and you're still a leader, because at least you're leading yourself, right? So this solar plexus gives the other people that are perceiving you the information, light is information, that they need to make a decision on whether or not they're going to vibe with you, if they're going to interact, if they're going to converse with you, right? If they like you, even if they dislike a certain little things about you, they'd be like, oh, I might be able to get over that. They're interesting enough for me to want to talk to them and learn more about them, because not only are you learning about yourself, they are learning about themselves too. It's the same frequency, it's the same energy, it's the same chakra, it's the same thing. That's why sometimes some people can't get enough, because they like the learning of it. And when I say don't get enough, they don't get enough of things that are not harmonious, right? Because they want to, the first time it happened, they might be like, man, is it me? You know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like what, and then they want to go back and figure it out, right? But this also lets you know that you're prepping for the Venus chakra, the love chakra, the heart chakra, because you want, your goal after the solar plexus is to obtain harmony, because now you have reached the point to where you can dissolve your ego. You can have an ego death when involving yourself with another person. That's where the compromise comes in. And I'm not saying everyone has to compromise, but the ego compromises. That's why it takes courage as well as to operate the solar plexus, because the ego is compromised when you put yourself out there to say, hey, look, I'm going to shake hands and kiss babies and do what I got to do in order to learn thyself. I want to know what I'm worth. And damn it, I think I'm worth something, but let me at least prove it to myself that I am. And then when you learn that you're of value from other people, you're like, oh, okay, I got this, right? I got this. But you got to be able to gel well, right? You got to have the gift of gab. You got to have some type of finesse, you know? You got to have that. You got to have that sauce, be pause, but you do, you know? In whatever way you do it, you could be a game programmer. You're still gonna have some sauce, you know. So you're prepping for the heart chakra, because you can have an ego death when you realize, hey, look, you know what? I don't have to be so magnified that I'll be losing by interacting with this person or joining forces with this person, because it's harmonious. We gel well. You know what I mean? We give and take to each other so well that it's just like, I can turn it down some now. You understand what I'm saying? And it's like two heads are better than one. So I'm not trying to force my opinion about life on y'all, because I know that it's starting to sound like I could be saying that right now by saying, oh, you need to be with someone or you need to be with other people. What I'm saying is, either way, this is the lesson for you to know how it goes. Like, when you do combine with other people from the solar plexus, you are entering the journey of the aggregate of humanity. You are saying, yes, I can be a part of humanity by way of relationship, whether it's one or whether it's 20. And I don't mean, they're all not romantic, right? So they could be business relationships. They can be platonic is the word. They can be, professional. They can be all types of different relationships. But when you put yourself on the line, your own soul on the line, to cooperate with other people to bring wishes and dreams into fruition, which is an Aquarius construct, right? The opposite. See, it's all connected. It's just on the other side. It's on the other side for a reason too. But it's like for a very significant reason. You understand what I'm saying? In order to bring, just think about it. If you got a dream, a goal, a wish that you want to achieve as a person, your soul, right? That's why I say purpose comes into play. Somebody's gonna have to help you do it, yo. All y'all self-made bosses, and I'm not saying you ain't put rigorous work in to get where you at. Somebody helped you, B. Somebody helped you. That's my point. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why courage, willpower, and being generous enough to give of yourself in order to get from just the universe, because it's not, at that point you just want to prove to yourself. Solar plexus is about proving to yourself that you are someone, you are of value. Gold represents the sun, Leo in astrology, right? So you're the type of value that is unique, finite, yeah, I'm gonna just keep it at that right now. All right, I don't want to drag this anymore. Hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you got any questions or you want to expand on this, get in the comment section. If you want to hear about something similar to this topic or whatever, just put the name of the topic or whatever type of video you might want to see next after the chakra series or something like that. Just get in where y'all fit in. Pause, because that's crazy work, but I'm out of here. Till next time, I'm out.